When I moved in with Megan, I knew I was joining an already built life. I wasn't trying to be a replacement dad, just a partner, a stable presence. She had a teenage daughter from her first marriage, Taylor, 15 at the time. We were living in a coastal town in Maine. Her house, her habits, her rules. I was just the guy with the truck, a steady job, and the illusion that love could be earned through effort. It was the kind of house that smelled like lavender and old water heaters. A little warped from time, but nothing unfixable. Megan kept the fridge organized with neat little baskets. Labels on everything. Even the condiments. Taylor's room had string lights wrapped around the headboard, half-lit most nights. Music leaking through the walls like perfume you can't quite identify. I stepped into that world like a man entering a church he didn't believe in. Reverent, quiet, unwilling to touch too much. They had their routines. Thursday pasta nights, Sunday market runs, that one ceramic mug no one but Megan was allowed to use. I tried not to disrupt anything. I paid the bills and kept my voice down. Megan never asked me to take over, but slowly, silently, I did. I picked up the mortgage after her hours got cut back. Bought Taylor a used car when her father sent another email about tight finances. Covered the streaming services, the school fees, the therapy appointments. Never made a scene. Never asked for thanks. I told myself that being needed was enough. That maybe, with time, need would become love. It was Taylor's birthday the first year I lived there. 16. Megan wanted to keep it low-key, but Taylor had other plans. Half the junior class came through our front door that night, in waves of perfume and half-hearted hellos. I grilled burgers in the backyard while Taylor pretended I didn't exist. Megan floated between rooms with wine in her hand, telling me it was all going fine, that Taylor was just in that phase. I spent most of the night picking up solo cups and pretending I wasn't listening. The next morning, Taylor's friends were gone. The house wrecked. I found a slice of cake mashed into the carpet and a beer can shoved behind the couch. Cleaned it all. Quietly. Thought maybe it was a test. Maybe I had to prove I could handle the mess before I earned a place at the table. Weeks passed. Then months. Every act of generosity became background noise. Every payment I made became invisible. I was the structure beneath their lives. Felt only when something broke. Taylor never called me anything. Not dad, not stepdad, not even my name. She'd say, "Can you tell him?" When talking to Megan, like I wasn't sitting 5 feet away, she'd take the keys to the car I paid for without looking me in the eye. And when I spoke, gently, calmly, it always went through Megan. Like I was a foreign language that needed translation. But I stayed. I stayed because I believed in effort. I stayed because I thought showing up mattered. That love wasn't something you claimed, it was something you earned. Like overtime. Like seniority. Then one night, I came home from work late. Grocery bags digging into my hands. The hallway was dim, but I could hear her. Taylor. Upstairs on the phone. Laughing. He thinks he's family? He's just a fill-in. Mom's done it before. She'll do it again. Her voice floated down the stairs like a nail through my chest. I didn't move. Just stood there in the doorway, cold air brushing my neck. My fingers tightened around the plastic bags until they tore. In the living room, Megan sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone. She didn't flinch, didn't shout up the stairs, didn't even look in my direction. She just kept scrolling, like she hadn't heard a damn thing. But I saw it, the flicker in her eyes. She had heard. She chose not to answer. That was the moment something in me died. Not loudly, not like a slammed door, more like a light switch in a distant room. A quiet flick and then darkness. I wasn't a man in that house. I was a placeholder, a feature, something that came standard with the upgrade. A debit card with a smile. I put the groceries down and went straight to the bedroom. Locked the door. Sat on the edge of the bed for almost an hour with my coat still on. Just breathing. Just listening to the silence on the other side of the wall. And then I acted. Not impulsively. Not in rage. I moved through it like a man performing surgery on his own chest. Precise. Focused. Calm. I changed every password, Wi-Fi, Netflix, Hulu, Spotify, Amazon Prime. I removed my card from Taylor's Uber account, canceled the automatic transfer for her car insurance, took my name off the shared grocery app. Then I logged into my bank account, scrolled through every expense tagged with her name, the online classes, the birthday dress, the test prep, the new phone case, and wrote them down in a notebook. Just to see it in ink. Just to make it real. Over $8,000 in 6 months. That's what stepfather cost me. That night, Megan came to bed late. She said nothing. She slipped under the covers and turned her back to me. I watched her breathe until I couldn't anymore. Got up, went to the guest room, and lay there on the twin bed like a visitor in a life I thought I belonged to. I didn't sleep, just stared at the ceiling fan spinning slow, like time itself was mocking me. In the morning, I got up early and made coffee. Megan walked into the kitchen in her robe, eyes puffy. "You didn't sleep well," she said. "No," I replied. She poured a mug, stared out the window. "I think you're taking this too personally," she said. It was the first time she acknowledged anything had happened. And still it felt like a slap. That's when I knew. She wouldn't defend me. Not then. Not ever. After she left for work, I opened my laptop again. I shut off the automatic payment for Taylor's upcoming SAT course. I called the insurance company and told them to bill the account holder directly. Not me. I unsubscribed from every app one didn't use. By noon, Taylor's phone buzzed with alert after alert. Subscription failed. Payment declined. Account closed. She didn't say anything to me, just sent Megan a series of texts I wasn't supposed to see. But I did, because Megan left her phone face up on the counter while she showered. WTF? Did he do this? Seriously. Tell him to fix it. Not, can you ask him? Not, maybe something happened. Just entitlement. Pure and simple. Like I was the malfunctioning vending machine they were used to kicking when snacks got stuck. And Megan? She didn't respond to the texts. Just read them. Then set the phone down and poured herself another cup of tea. I watched her from the hallway. She looked tired, but not sorry. I stood there for a long time, watching her drink tea in the kitchen I paid for, in the house I carried, while her daughter laughed upstairs about the man who thought he was family. That's when I decided. This wasn't a family. It was a transaction. And I was canceling my subscription. It was a quiet Saturday when I came home early. Rain had just started tapping the roof, soft like a warning. The air smelled like wet stone and sour grass, the kind of Maine afternoon that makes silence feel sharper. I didn't announce myself, didn't call out, just walked in and closed the door behind me. The house was dim. Taylor wasn't home. Megan's car was in the driveway, but I didn't hear the usual hum of the dishwasher or the dull sound of the TV she always kept running in the background. Just stillness, like the house was holding its breath. I took off my boots, hung up my jacket, walked through the hallway and into the bedroom. That's when I saw it. The wedding dress, spread out on the bed like a body waiting to be buried. The same dress Megan had once called just a keepsake. Something she was going to donate, maybe sell, someday. She had worn it in her first marriage. The one that gave her Taylor. The one she still mentioned when things got hard between us. "Rob used to do that too," she'd say. Or, "Well, Rob never made me feel like that. I used to pretend it didn't bother me. Pretend that the ghost of her ex wasn't hanging in every room, wearing a tuxedo and a grin. But that day she'd taken it out. Laid it out. For what? Nostalgia? Or something worse?" I stood there staring at it, and beside it, folded neatly, was the tuition check I had pre-written for Megan's certification course. $5,000. My handwriting on the line. My name on the line. My future leaving through the window. I didn't touch the dress. Didn't speak. Just picked up the check and tore it in half. Then in half again. Then again until it looked like confetti. I laid the pieces gently across the lace like snow on a corpse. Then I walked out. I didn't pack a suitcase. I didn't take my clothes or my books or even the photo of my father that sat on the dresser. I took the dog and my tools. That's it. The only things in that house that responded to me without resentment. The dog didn't whine when I opened the truck door. Just jumped in, tail wagging, eager to leave. I drove across town to a small rental, one of those aging duplexes with thin walls and cheap blinds. It wasn't much, but it was mine. A place without echoes. A place where I didn't have to watch my back while making dinner. I moved in that night, slept on the floor with the dog at my side. The hardwood was cold. The air was thin. But I felt like I could breathe for the first time in months. Megan didn't call until the next morning. She left a voicemail. Her voice soft, like a woman trying to sound calm while holding a burning rope. "Hey, I saw the check. I'm not sure what's going on. Can we talk?" I didn't answer. Taylor messaged a few hours later. Just one word. "Seriously." That was all. No punctuation. No context. Just teenage disdain wrapped in pixels. I stared at it for a full minute before deleting it. No reply. By the end of the week, I had a table, a mattress on the floor, and a second-hand coffee maker. The dog adjusted in 2 days. I adjusted in 1. Peace filled the silence like smoke after a long fire. On day 4, the school called. Taylor had missed an exam. They asked for a parent contact to reschedule. I paused. The voice on the phone was young, polite. "We just need a guardian to approve the makeup date." I gave them a new number. "Not me anymore," I said. "Try her real dad." Silence on the other end. Then a quiet, professional "okay. Thank you." That was the first time I said it out loud. Not me anymore. And it felt like an exhale I'd been holding for years. 2 days later, Megan showed up at my door. She looked tired. Not angry. Not apologetic. Just tired, the kind of exhaustion that comes when the machine stops working and no one knows how to fix it. She didn't knock hard. Just tapped and waited. When I opened the door, she stood there in a hoodie and jeans, her hair tied back, rain dripping from her sleeves. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. I let her stand in the doorway. Didn't invite her in. She looked past me into the small, barren apartment. Her eyes landed on the mattress, the dog, the bare walls. "It's empty," she said. "It's peaceful," I replied. She nodded. Then her voice dropped. "The power's shut off. Internet's gone. The fridge is empty." "I thought." "You thought I'd still be paying," I said. She looked at me. That's when I saw it, the first flicker of real confusion. Not cruelty. Not anger. Just confusion. Like she couldn't quite process what had changed. I handed her a slip of paper with a number on it. Customer service for the utility company. She took it without a word. Then she whispered, "You can't just disappear." I looked her dead in the eye. "I didn't disappear," I said. "I left when I was replaced. I just stopped paying now." She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes darted across my face like she was searching for the version of me she used to recognize. But that man, the one who paid without question, stayed without thanks, swallowed every slight, was gone. She didn't say goodbye, just turned and walked back to her car. I watched her go. That night, I sat on the floor with the dog, sipping coffee out of a chipped mug I'd found at Goodwill. I thought about the house I left behind, the one still filled with my tools, my coffee maker, my absence. I wondered if they noticed how quiet it had gotten, if the silence was comforting or unbearable. A week later, I found out Taylor had tried getting a job, part-time at a smoothie place 2 towns over. Her social media posts dried up. No more brunch selfies, no more beach shots with friends. She was off the grid, someone said. Turns out popularity costs money. Uber was gone. Apple Music was gone. The gas card I used to top off for her, gone. She had to ask her grandmother for a ride to school. She had to call her real dad to ask for book money. He didn't pick up. Megan started texting again. Casual things. Memes. Photos of the dog. Recipes. Like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't walked out with the weight of the whole house on my back and finally dropped it in her lap. I didn't respond. Then came the alert. Taylor had tried to reconnect one of my old cards to her app store. Maybe she thought it was still linked. Maybe she figured I wouldn't notice. I noticed. I called the bank. Reported it as unauthorized. Locked it permanently. That was the last I heard from either of them. The apartment stayed quiet. Clean. Peaceful. The dog had a routine. We walked twice a day. I started cooking for myself again. Small meals, simple things. I felt like a man who had escaped a collapsed mine and finally saw sunlight again. Through mutual friends, I heard Megan had to rent out the house. Couldn't afford it on her part-time salary. Moved in with her sister in Portland. Taylor bounced between relatives. Her grandmother took her in. Their real dad still hadn't replied to a single call. And no one's asked me to come back. Not once. It's been 2 months. Maybe a little more. I don't keep track the same way anymore. No shared calendar reminders. No double-checking school breaks or holiday rotations. The days move cleaner now. Straightforward. The light comes through the blinds the same every morning, and the silence stays soft through the night. I live on the quiet side of the city now. Not the scenic part, not the postcard hills or the ocean views. Just a block of weathered buildings and faded mailboxes where no one asks questions and everyone minds their own. My apartment is smaller, tighter, but it breathes easier. There's no clutter. Just the dog's bowl, my boots by the door, and a bed that doesn't carry the weight of someone else's expectations. I work longer hours. Voluntarily. Overtime feels different now, less like survival, more like investment. I've been fixing up an old Jeep in the lot behind the complex. Rusted panels, busted axles, no real resale value. But it's mine. I get grease on my hands again. I build something with no one to take it from me. Some nights I just sit in the garage. Radio on. Dog curled at my feet. The cold settling into the concrete like it belongs there. No demands. No eye rolls. No, you're not my real dad. Echoing up the stairs like a ghost that never leaves. That phrase. It doesn't vanish, not really. It just fades until it's part of the air, part of the muscle memory you don't notice until it aches again. I'd be lying if I said I didn't think about them. Megan. Taylor. The way that house felt in winter, wood creaking under your feet. The way the kettle whistled too loud when no one was talking. I remember watching them from the doorway sometimes. Taylor scrolling through her phone, Megan flipping through mail, and I'd think, this is what people mean when they say family. Mundane, messy, but held together by something bigger. Only it wasn't. Not for me. I was the thread they used to tie the pieces together. And when it frayed, they just dropped it. I found out about the house a few weeks ago. Rented out now, some younger couple with a baby. I drove past once. Just once. Not close. Didn't even slow down. But the porch light was on. Someone had painted the mailbox. That stung more than I expected. The next day, Megan texted again. First time in over a month. Just a photo. The dog, from last summer, asleep on the deck. Captioned, "He always loved this spot." I stared at it for a long time. Didn't reply. Because what would I say? He still loves the walks? He still gets up when I do. Tail thumping, waiting for whatever the day brings? He still looks at me like I'm the only one who matters? I never told her I took him. Never asked. Just put the leash on, grabbed his bowl, and left. She never tried to get him back. Taylor hasn't texted since that last swipe at my bank account. I imagine her face when the card was declined. Confusion turning to frustration. Not the kind that hurts, but the kind that exposes. Like being caught stealing and realizing the world doesn't owe you anything after all. I looked through the bank statements once more, just once. Just to see. Just to confirm I wasn't crazy. $400 for her exam prep. $120 a month for her car insurance. $80 a month in streaming. Another $40 for premium music and apps. $600 in Uber rides over 4 months. $1,000 in tutoring. I added it all. Over $7,500 just in the last year. And that didn't include groceries, gifts, the time I took off work to drive her to school when she had a panic attack over a history midterm. I thought, this is what a ghost leaves behind. A paper trail of effort no one asked for, no one remembers, no one thanks. Her father, the man whose name sits on her birth certificate like some sacred seal. He didn't even send flowers on her last birthday. Didn't wire money. Didn't call. Megan said it wasn't worth bringing up. Taylor's used to it, she said once. That was the excuse. The lullaby. She's used to disappointment, so just don't be another one. But I became exactly what she accused me of being: temporary, dispensable, forgettable, the placeholder who stepped off the stage when the act was over. And now the bill had come due, came in ways they hadn't expected. The unpaid balance on the course Megan never took. The fridge that no longer stocked itself. The internet that flickered and died without me resetting the router or calling tech support. Taylor's Uber app that stayed frozen. Her allowance gone. The free rides, the music, the convenience gone. They reached out to others, I heard. Megan's sister. Her mother. Even Taylor's old babysitter. Small loans. Groceries dropped off. Offers of, I wish I could help more. But no one stepped in fully. No one held the line like I did. Because why would they? They weren't trying to be fathers. They weren't trying to prove they were worth something. They weren't stupid like I was. Sometimes I wonder what Megan tells people now. Does she paint me as cruel? As abrupt? Does she leave out the part where her daughter mocked me to my face and she said nothing? Does she say I abandoned them? Or does she admit I was already gone long before I walked out? One night, a mutual friend, Greg, called me out of the blue. We hadn't spoken since the move. You okay? He asked. Better, I said. He hesitated. Then, they're struggling. I know. She said you just left. No warning. I gave them years of warnings. He didn't argue. Just said, Taylor's been asking about you. That sat wrong in my chest. Not painful. Not sweet. Just wrong. Like being asked about by someone who only notices you when the house is on fire and you're the last one with a bucket. She says she didn't mean it, he added. Said she was mad. That she thought you'd get over it. I didn't reply right away. Then I said, tell her I did get over it. Yeah, he muttered. Thought so. We hung up soon after. He didn't call again. Sometimes I rehearse what I'd say if Taylor ever showed up. What words I'd choose. If I'd soften or if I'd say it plain. You called me a fill-in. So I left. You treated me like a vendor. So I stopped the service. You said I wasn't your real family. So I let you find out what family actually costs. But maybe I wouldn't say anything. Maybe I'd just close the door. Some nights I wonder if Megan lies awake, the same way I used to, listening to the fridge hum, wondering where it all went sideways. I wonder if she realizes now that silence is a choice, that inaction is a weapon, that defending someone isn't always a scream. Sometimes it's just saying one simple word in the moment that matters. Enough. But she didn't. And now she's dealing with the after. The after is cold. The after is full of letters from billing departments and freezer dinners and awkward text chains asking if someone else can drive Taylor to school. The after is realizing that you depended on the man you disregarded. And he noticed. That's the part people forget, the noticing. We see everything. The rolled eyes. The side comments. The way the tone shifts when we walk into a room. The invisible scoring system. The whispered rankings behind closed doors. You're not him. He was funnier. He had better stories. He made us feel something. You're just here. But being here came with a price. And when the bill hit the table, I simply refused to pay it anymore. No announcement. No tantrum. Just a quiet exit. The kind that echoes more than any door slam ever could. Now I walk the dog past empty lots and closed storefronts. We watch the sun rise over rusted rooftops. No one texts me asking where I am. No one calls expecting anything. And I'm free. They said I was just a placeholder. And one day I finally was. Took me years to realize that you don't get applause for endurance. No one claps when you swallow your pride. No one gives you a medal for staying quiet while you're being disrespected in your own home. They just expect you to keep doing it. I did. I kept doing it because I thought that's what a man does. He endures. He pays. He steps back so the people he loves can move forward. He becomes invisible and calls it strength. But strength without respect is servitude. Love without boundaries is exploitation. And I learned, too late maybe, that giving people everything doesn't make them love you. It makes them expect more. They didn't miss me. They missed the money. They missed the soft landing. The full fridge. The certainty that someone would always catch them when they fell. or push them forward when they were too lazy to walk. Megan never apologized. Not really. She sent a few messages over the weeks that followed. Casual ones. A meme about dogs. A question about where I'd put the ladder. A blurry photo of Taylor standing next to a car that no longer ran. But no apology. Not for the silence. Not for the way she let her daughter humiliate me without flinching. Not for the years she let me carry them both while telling herself she hadn't asked for it. Taylor? She didn't reach out again. Maybe she was too proud. Maybe Megan told her not to. Maybe it never occurred to her that the man who fed her, clothed her, and stayed through all the phases she swore no one else understood, was gone because of her. Or maybe she understood completely. I don't hate her. Let me make that clear. Hate would be easier. Hate has heat. Hate has movement. What I feel is colder. I feel absence. And that's something you don't come back from. I've learned that what people say in anger is often what they mean when they think they're strong. And what they say in apology is often what they say when they're weak. The words aren't equal. One is truth, the other is strategy. So I remember what Taylor said when she thought I couldn't hear her. He thinks he's family? He's just a fill-in. Mom's done it before. She'll do it again. She didn't whisper it. She laughed. She believed it. And Megan said nothing. So I believed them both. And I left. The thing about leaving, really leaving, is that people don't believe you at first. They expect you to come back. They think you're sulking. They think you're waiting for an apology or some grand gesture, or that maybe you're testing them. But I wasn't testing anyone. I was done. And when you're done, everything gets simple. No noise. No back and forth. No checking your phone for a text that never comes. I wake up early now. Earlier than I need to. I drink my coffee on the steps behind the building with the dog at my feet. I hear the trains in the distance and the wind through the old fire escapes, and I don't think about them anymore. I think about the peace of not having to be someone I'm not. Not a stepfather. Not a fill-in. Not a man desperate for a title in a family that never wanted him. You know what they never teach you? How to stop trying. How to accept that some people will never see you, no matter how brightly you burn for them. That love, real love, doesn't look like sacrifice without return. It looks like someone defending you when you're not in the room. And that never happened. Not once. So here's what I've learned. If someone calls you replaceable, replace yourself first. If your kindness becomes their entitlement, shut off the supply. If they think you're just a placeholder, let them find out what permanent silence feels like. I'm not bitter. Bitterness is a wound that refuses to close. What I carry now is healed over. Scarred. But solid. Sometimes, when I'm driving home from work and the sun is just low enough to burn the edge of the highway gold, I catch myself wondering, what would they do if I showed up? If I knocked on the door of the house I used to keep warm? If I asked them who pays the bills now, who makes sure the lights stay on? But I never do, because I already know. They're not mad I left. They're mad I stayed gone. They're mad the cushion is gone. The safety net. The man who never raised his voice but always opened his wallet. They're mad they finally had to look at the man whose name is on the birth certificate and ask, why weren't you ever there? And maybe, for a brief moment they realized what I had done for them. Maybe they sat in the dark during a storm and remembered that I used to light candles before the power ever flickered. Maybe Taylor missed the sound of her favorite songs and thought about the man who paid for her subscription, month after month, even when she wouldn't say his name. Maybe Megan opened the fridge, saw the empty shelves, and thought about how I used to notice when the milk ran low without being asked. But I'll never know, because silence has a cost too, and that's what I gave them. Not revenge, not spite, just absence. The same absence they gave me when I needed their voices. Not their money, not their effort, just their voices. I used to think forgiveness was necessary, that letting go meant offering grace. But sometimes, forgiveness is letting people live with the choices they made while they thought you'd never leave. Sometimes, letting go means never answering the door again. And if Taylor someday grows up, becomes a woman who loves someone and loses someone, maybe she'll understand what she threw away. Maybe she'll remember the man who didn't give her life, but gave her one. And maybe then, maybe, she'll sit on her own porch, look at the life she built, and ask herself, what does it mean to be family? Is it blood? Is it love? Or is it just the person who stayed, even when you gave them every reason not to? I don't expect an answer. I don't need one, because I know what I gave. I know who I was, and I know what I'll never be again. A man who accepts disrespect as love. So tell me, was I wrong? Was I cruel to walk away? To pull the plug and let them feel the cold for once? Or was this the only way to teach them that every man has a breaking point, and I reached mine the moment they laughed at me for staying? Tell me, would you have endured it? Or would you have left like I did and finally learned how to breathe?